So now I'm going to talk about the absorption in the small intestine. The small intestine has a huge surface area because it has villi and microvilli that are exposed to the intestinal lumen. Actually, uh, the total surface area of our small intestine, including villi and microvilli, it is about 300 meter squares, and it's like a tennis court. And this increases the nutrient absorption rate in our small intestine. So, as we can see in the middle of the picture, there are many villi, and in each of the villas, there is a lacteal at the core, and it is surrounded by many blood capillaries. And in the rightmost picture, we can see that on each villus, there are many epithelial cells, and our nutrient can enter the villi and pass by the epithelial cells. And on the surface of the epithelial cell, there are many microvilli, and they are also known as brush border. The second point of this slide is that transport across the epithelial cells can be passive transport or active transport depending on different nutrients. For example, the sugar fructose, 果糖, it moves through the epithelial cells through facilitated diffusion. And it moves down its concentration gradient. But for other substances like amino acids or vitamins, they enter the epithelial cells, they are pumped into it, and it is against their concentration gradient. And the next slide, I'm going to talk about an important vein, which is called hepatic portal vein. The vein carries nutrient-rich blood from the capillaries of a villi to the liver. It collects all the blood, and it leads directly into the liver. And in the liver, it regulates nutrient distribution, and it can interconvert many organic molecules as our bodies needs, and also the liver can detoxify many organic molecules. So it is very important that our bloodstream undergoes these like detoxification and interconversion in the liver before the bloodstream goes into our heart and travels around our body. So although most of the substances goes into our bloodstream after it enters our villi, there's a spatial substance. It doesn't do that. It leaves the villi through the lacteal instead of the capillaries. So we can see in the picture from the top, the substance is called triglycerides, and it is broken down to fatty acids and monoglycerides by a protein called lipase. And these two molecules enters our epithelial cells, and they are recombined into triglycerides. And the triglycerides are added to some molecules like phospholipids, cholesterol, and proteins, and they become something called chylomicron. In Mandarin, we call 乳糜为粒. And the chylomicron, it doesn't go into the capillaries. Instead, it goes into the lacteal. The lacteal is 乳糜管, and it's part of our lymphatic system. It's a lymphatic vessel in each of the villus. And this slide shows us the process. So the chylomicron enters the lacteal, and the lacteal leads to some bigger lymphatic vessel, and these lymphatic vessels deliver our chylomicron containing lymph to the large veins that return the blood to our heart. Um, and then the chylomicron will travel through our body with the bloodstream. And the picture shows how our adipose tissue and muscles use the chylomicron. So when the chylomicron travels to the tissue or muscles, there are some important enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, and it is on the luminal surface of the adipose or on the endothelial cells of our muscle capillary. The enzyme can hydrolyzes the triglycerides to fatty acids and glycerol. So that our body can use the fatty acids to generate ATPs. Then what if our bodies have enough energy and it doesn't need these fatty acids? If it is in adipose tissue, the fatty acids will be recombined or reacidified, 酯化, and stored as triglycerides in adipose tissue. And if it's in our muscle, it will undergo P-oxidation in the muscle. In this part, I'm going to talk about the processing in the large intestine. There are 5 things I'm going to talk about. So first is colon, 结肠. It is connected to the small intestine, and it reabsorbs the water that we need. Actually, the reabsorption of water started in our small intestine, and it just continued in the colon. And the second is secum. It aids the fermentation of plant material and connects where the small and large intestines meet. And so the secum is a very important thing in animals that eat a lot of plant material. So compared with other mammals, we humans actually have small secum. The next one is appendix. It plays a minor and dispensable role in our immunity. Then the feces, it's the waste of our digestive system. It includes some undigested material like cellulose fiber. and some bacteria, and it becomes more solid as it moves through the colon. And the feces are stored in the rectum until they can be eliminated through our anus. And how can we control our bowel movements? We control it through two sphincters, 括约肌, between the rectum and our anus. And this slide is just a summary about what we just mentioned.